Right, what I'm going to do now is, you see these? Okay, these were embroidered. This was embroidered silk that I'm not going to use today. I'm going to just do it with fabric, patterned fabric, because it'll work the same and it'll still be lovely. And if you imagine that you made something and you wanted a complimentary button or a complimentary adornment, then this would be a way to bring that fabric into the rest of the work, so it's cohesive, so everything lives together and complements each other. So what I'm going to do, if I was to embroider this, the initial process would be exactly the same as what I'm going to do with this patterned fabric. Okay, so I'll talk you through that. Now I'm using this big ball and I'm thinking I want this patterned fabric to come halfway down at least. So this is a big ball. It's I measured it before, didn't I? I would say it's 1.5 inches diameter. So I'm gonna do, I've set my compass to 1.25 inches, and that should give me a 2.5 inch diameter. So that's for the big ball. I'm not doing your diagram with this one, I'm just gonna hope that you're taking notes. So if I cut a circle of this fabric, so if I was going to embroider this, then I would mark it out like this on the back, mark the size of the circle I needed on the back, and then running stitch round the circle, okay, and then embroider it on the front. That's how you would do an embroidered one with an embroidered top. So mark your circle, running stitch around the outside of it, then turn it over and hand embroider within that circle. I wouldn't do just one, because I think it'd be a lot of faff and fiddling to do just one on a piece of fabric. It wouldn't fit in your hoop. You'd have to have so your hoop, you would need if you were to cut that, it wouldn't fit in your hoop, would it? So I would do 4 and then I'd damp stretch them, and then I would go forward to make 4 ball buttons, okay? So that's what to do if you want to embroider it. Mark it out, running stitch around your circle, and then embroider it before you do the next stage, okay? So I'm going to cover my ball using that thick cotton thread again, but I need to run thread around this circle to give me an anchor point for my buttonhole stitch. So I'm not going to use that thick thread, I'm going to use cotton abroader, okay? And my battery's low, so I might get cut off in my prime, but if I do, I'll just come back, you won't even know any different. You'll know I've been cut off in my prime, but you won't know that, you won't miss anything is what I'm saying. So I need a sharp needle, and I've got some cotton abroader there in a needle that isn't really any good, so I'm going to change the needle. That's the needle for the thick stuff. And I'm going to put a knot in this. And I'm not going to turn this over. I have this debate with myself all the time, because what I'm thinking is when I come to buttonhole around this, I'm going to be using this, and I need this needle, which isn't as sharp as this needle, and I've got to try and catch the edge of this to start the buttonhole. But having said that, if I do my running stitches small enough, and it isn't silk so it won't fray the same, if I do my running stitches small enough, I can use those as an anchor stitch. Now if you're going to do silk embroidery to do this, you're going to have to turn it over, or you're going to have the fraying issue. Now somebody mentioned fray check to me the other day in an email, and if you want to use that, yeah, fine, I'm happy with that, it's up to you, but I never use anything like that. I don't like it. It's kind of like, it fills me with horror putting chemicals on my work, but that's just me, and it doesn't mean it's wrong. Everyone's different. So if you wanted to do silk and you wanted to use fray check, then I absolutely haven't got a problem with that. But all I can do, all any of us can do really, is do what we prefer, and the decisions we make about things like that. I never put anything chemical on any of my work. So just running stitch all the way around. And these don't need damp stretching either, because they're just pattern fabric. But they can look really lovely with the pattern fabric. So oops. Just let me get a drink. I'm getting dry. Well, then I'm thinking, if this is too big, if it goes too far down the ball, then I can't use this running stitch as an anchor point. But I do have an idea if that happens, so all is not lost. So I will not cut this thread off when I've finished until I know whether I need it or not. Right, so I'm all the way around. Get my ball. Leave my hole visible there because I need that for when I've finished. Pull that tight. Now, it's not too far down, I don't think. I think it's alright. So I'll try and even out the pleats because it will naturally pleat. Okay. And then just stitch through it a couple of times through your fabric just to tighten it off and finish it off, to knot it. Okay, and then this, actually tuck it under and just bring it out up there to get rid of your end and cut your end off. Right, now I need some more of that thick thread. Probably not as much as before, but I'm still going to get too much rather than too little. It's always better to be overcautious. And don't forget, you've got to do your buttonhole loop. Now the difference with this one is that this is the top now. What's going on here will be the bottom. For me anyway, if you wanted to take your thread back through there and come up there and do your buttonhole loop there, then that's fine, that's up to you. But for me, I prefer that to be the top. So I'll put a knot in this. Just thread my needle and then put a knot in it. Easier said than done. Right, so now it looks a bit, I don't know, like loose this, but I'm hoping that when I stitch round it with buttonhole it'll tighten it up. So I'm just going to come up anywhere, come through the edge of that fabric, see, knotting again. That's what I said about keeping an eye on your thread. This is what was happening to me yesterday. Let's keep stopping to do that. So keep an eye on it, don't get carried away like I just did. Bring your knot up so it's inside there. Now, ideally I'd like to go around the fabric. I'm just thinking this needle might not do that, but I'm going to try. So I'm just going to go through the edge of the fabric like that. It is going through actually, so that's good. Get them fray bits out of the way from the edge. Buttonhole stitch. And you're literally just going to do what you did with the other one. Once you've gone round once with all your buttonhole stitch, then you're going to just keep going until you get to the bottom like you did with the other one, like that. Do you know, I did quite well with the other ones, didn't I? I didn't really have this problem with the other ones. It doesn't want me to get too ahead of myself, does it? That's what it is. Why is that? Come on, be good. Be good for me, come on. Believe this. Drive me mental, that's it. So be careful that what's happening to me Be a lesson to you. That's my stomach. Right. So all the way around. I think this is an occasion as well where you're going to have to see the bigger picture. I think when I made the ones with the embroidery, because the silk was white, it just seemed to sit nicer. But I'm convinced this is going to work. Just might take me a while to get all the way around the first time. So maybe, so I'm not going through the ball here, I'm just going through the edge of the fabric. Maybe I should turn off and do the first run all the way around and put the camera on charge. Maybe, what do you think? Because it was charged when I started. Don't they'd be thinking that I'm incompetent. I started this morning with a fully charged battery. I don't even think I'm nearly halfway around yet. So I think I'll do this bit off camera and come back when I've done it. Alright. Right, I've gone all the way around. I charged my battery for a little while, but I hope it's long enough. Can you see what's happening with this thread as well? It's splitting. So that might become an issue later on. We'll have to see where it's split there. I don't want to cut it off. I'm loath to cut it off. So I'm all the way around. Now in theory, this should be quite quick to get around here. You're not doing double into the loops. You're just doing single all the way around, exactly how you did before. Okay, and I would, because of the fabric, I would pull it tight as you're doing it to try and get a bit of nice tension in that fabric so it doesn't look like a dog's dinner, if you know what I mean. So now I did this with the smaller ones, so I'm not quite sure how long it'll take me to get all the way around with this one. To get to the bottom of this one, it might be that I have to turn off again and finish off camera, because I'm just conscious I don't want you to be watching things unnecessarily, especially when the conversation's so boring. But hopefully you can see how nice that looks against the patterned fabric. My stomach's proper rumbling. I've had breakfast. Well, I've had a banana. I don't have time to sit and, well, I choose not to. Not that I don't have time. I choose not to spend my time sitting down and eating breakfast. So I really like this. I like how it looks at the edge where the fabric meets the stitch. It looks different to me because I was on white silk last time and there wasn't as much of a contrast between the two surfaces, between the stitch and the patterned fabric, between the stitch and the fabric, because it was just plain white. I know it had embroidery on it, but this is an all over pattern. And I do like the contrast that's going on here. So I'm actually thinking it might still take me a while to get around here. I'm still on my first row. I'm not going to reduce it though, I'm not going to miss a stitch. Because I like the evenness of it and I like the size of these stitches, the fact that they're quite small. That bit of shredded thread's getting closer and closer. Hopefully it'll just sit within the work when I get to the point where it actually is. I'm loath to cut off and start again. I might actually get caught in the next one if I'm careful, and then that should even everything out. as long as it's secure. Now it's got a loop there of shredded thread, but when I get a bit further round, I'll cut that off. Just want to make sure it gets caught, and so it's stable, you know what I mean? I'm actually pulling it up, you can see it's there again. So if I cut that little loop off, it's where it's split. This thread wasn't made for this, so I'm pushing it beyond its limits. That's what's happening here. But I won't be beaten by a bit of thread. So again, pull it. There. Actually, what I could maybe do, no, because it's going to come to a point where I could probably cut that off now, you know. But then I might be storing up problems for myself later on. We'll see. We'll see. Need to cut that bit off that's sticking up there. But, you know, often there is a way around this kind of thing. I mean, I wouldn't do that and leave this thread as my working thread if this was going to look absolutely appalling, but I don't think it is. I think it's you're not even going to be able to notice it, hopefully. So I'll keep going around. Maybe once I get around the first one, because the first row is generally tighter, can you see, sorry. It'll cover it quicker once I've gone around the first turn, because the second, when I come to work into this second row, it should be a bit looser, although not too loose, because like I say, I'm pulling it tight so that it puts the tension in that fabric. And the fabric's looking amazing now. Look, it's proper pulled all those creases out. I'm actually thinking, I know I said that my fabric was going to be the top before, but I'm changing my mind. I think I'd quite like the fabric to be at the bottom, so the contrast between the fabric and the buttonhole stitch is more obvious, because I love it. If you could see this close up in real time, that contrast is beautiful. So it would be a shame to hide it on the bottom. So if this is going to be the top, my buttonhole loop will have to be on here. No, sorry, my buttonhole loop will have to be on the bottom of the fabric. But that's okay, that's easy doable. So it's not going to be... So what I'll do is I'll turn off and work a bit more till I get nearer the centre, because I'm conscious about you being bored just watching me go around and round. Alright. Right, I'm nearly done. I absolutely love this, and the stitches, the buttonhole stitches are closer together, probably because there's more of them because of going around the edge of that fabric. But I absolutely love it. But what's happening is, because I've been working with this for a while, look at the end of my thread. So it's really quite tricky. It's snagging quite a bit. So I have to bear that in mind and be very careful if your thread's doing that. And I'm still just going in every hole. I haven't reduced this at all. And what I like about that is the evenness of these stitches, but also the smallness of them, the size of them. They're so much closer together than the ones that's just the ball covered in this. I'm almost there. So like I said, this is going to be my top. So this is going to be the visible area. So no pressure. But it's just lovely. I'm really in love with it. In love with it a lot. I really can't wait to start putting these on my work. Just let me... I think the flat ones, the ones we made last week, will be amazing in sketchbooks, in artist books. I I'm just thinking I don't really make anything that needs buttons. I just make samples. I suppose pillows, pin pillows I could make and put some of these on. Just trying to think where I would use these in terms of what I actually make. But then again, even if I've just got them in a jar to look at, that's sometimes all I need. Just to know that they're there and to be able to look at them every so often. That's enough for me. Right, I'm nearly round now. I might struggle here with thread for my buttonhole loop. Hopefully I won't, but I'm nearly there and I'm pulling it tight. And for some reason, it's reduced itself. There doesn't appear to be as many loops here to stitch through, unless they're just not visible. And it's telling me itself that I need to reduce. But I'm going through every loop I can see. Right, if I make that the last one, I quite like the little hole at the top. So if I go down through, and I'm going to have to come up through the fabric there, get my pliers. Now I don't know how stable the buttonhole loop's going to be. So that's the top. Okay. I don't know how stable it's going to be if it's just through the fabric. So I want 2 bars. I'm going under the fabric here. 1 bar. I hope I've got enough thread to do this. If I didn't have enough thread, what I would do is I would still bring it through to the top and then cut it off where it meets the ball so it's not visible, and then I'd knot another bit of thread and try and get the other bit of thread up through there and come at the top so that they're not wet inside there. That's what I would do if I didn't have enough thread to do this. So there's buttonhole over this. Hopefully I'll have enough, although I've not got much. I love these, love them. I really hope you all make a lot of all these buttons, because even if you think, well, I don't need to make that because I haven't got anything to put it on yet, just make them. Make yourself a stash of them and you've always got them. And like I say, it's just sometimes enough just to actually have them and to be able to take them out and look at them every so often. Pull across there. Oh, my thread's come off my needle. And I'm never going to be able to thread it without cutting it down a bit, so I'm losing more of it. So I'm working with very fine margins here. I'm probably going to have to make that my last one. And then put it through there. Put my needle through the loop if there's enough there. I'm struggling here. Yeah. And pull it tight. That's it. Probably could do with another couple on that loop, but like I say, I ran out of thread. And then just put the needle in under the fabric and bring it out anywhere and cut it off. Then your end's concealed. Now I love that. I love it. What's not to love? It's so lovely. There. Okay.